Hey, MD, Seth Feroce here. I'm in kind of the beginning stages of my off season. This video here is a off season shoulder training. It's a little different. It's innovative. It's something that I tried because I endured a slight injury from training for the Europa show. I ended up getting some severe tendonitis in my right elbow, and I haven't really been able to do heavy shoulder presses since. I've been able to do them, but just not well, because then after that, the ice, the heat, all the rehab that's been going into it. Give this video a chance. I know it looks gimmicky. I know the Isolator looks like a joke. I actually thought it was a complete joke the first time I saw it. I met these guys at my first guest pose in Maryland, and they fought me tooth and nail to actually put it on, because I just said it wasn't for me. I wasn't going to try it. And then once I learned the concept, gave it a shot, it was actually probably the coolest thing I've ever been introduced to. Right now, you can see in the video, I'm doing some shoulder presses. Training is lifting without your hands. You know, your hands are completely out of the question. Whenever you see, you know, the straps are on my biceps and on my forearms. The inventor of this brook is Rick, and he was like, I still need to lift weights, so he went online and found a couple products that you can use, but then whenever he put them on, he realized there was such a small range of motion. So he went home and created his own idea, and this is what he came up with. And for me, what happens is whenever you pick up a dumbbell or you pick up any weight, you know, the first thing you do is grip it with your hands, your hand strength. Next is, you know, your wrist, your forearm, your bicep, or your tricep, and then to the actual muscle that you're trying to work out. Well, with this apparatus, you actually take all those secondary and ancillary muscle groups out of it and you go straight to isolation. You know, for example, Dana's doing, whenever she's doing it, you can actually see it really well because she's in shape, that it's all isolation on the shoulders. There's no forearm, there's no hand, there's no tricep, there's no pressure on your elbows, nothing. And that's why it's beneficial to me right now, because I have such bad tendonitis that after chest, I can't do anything for at least 2 or 3 days. So being able to do this, I said, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make sure I'm still able to train. Because, you know, any of us, you know, if we hurt ourselves, if we do anything, we'll drive ourselves crazy. So we're willing to do anything. And right now, this has been like a godsend to me. Because, you know, I could do, you know, 130-pound shoulder presses for, you know, say 10 to 12, but my elbow is going to be garbage the next day. But with this, I'm able to completely isolate my shoulder with 60 pounds. That's 60 pounds right on my shoulder, not on my hands, not on my elbows, not on my triceps. So for me, this has just gone above and beyond to what I expected. You know, the first time I brought him home, you know, I put him on at home, made sure I knew how to put him on. And then, you know, the first time going to the gym with these was a little intimidating because, you know, you don't know what people are going to think. But, you know, this is the way I train now, and this is what I needed to use because of, you know, the injury. But once I began using them, I realized that I'm getting a better shoulder workout than I was before because it's complete isolation. But, you know, people were like, what's this person doing? Why is, you know, the awkwardly large person wearing these straps? And the same thing, whenever Robbie first watched the video, he's like, Seth, man. He's like, what are you doing? What's going on here? And the fact of the matter is this is how I train my shoulders now. You know, I can't do heavy presses. But, you know, now moving into, you can see in the video, moving into the side laterals, it's completely different because everybody, you know, whenever you're doing your sides when holding a handle in your hand, you know, the weak point is everybody's wrist. That's whenever everybody, you know, whenever you're tired and you're fatigued, your wrist starts curling down, and that's the weak spot. Now, instead of using your wrist, instead of using your hand, now it's strapped to your forearm. And now you actually have more control of the weight and more control of your muscle. You're able to pause. You're able to go up, pause, pause. You're able to move the weight and actually have complete control of the muscle and the weight, which if anybody ever has listened to some of Hani's videos or anybody that's in the training, it's all about isolation of certain muscle groups to make them grow. And I mean, it does look gimmicky and it looks crazy, but you have to give it a shot because it is actually probably the best product I've ever used. And whenever I actually went out to train with the inventor, this Dave, you know, he put me through a workout that, you know, he was explaining on what we're going to do, and I'm like, yeah, this is, you know, typical stuff I do, you know, presses and side laterals and, you know, rear delts, front delts, And he's like, no, he says, I'm going to put you through a workout, and I'm going to beat you up. And I'm like, yeah, sure, Dave, whatever. You're just Joe Schmo from down the road. I went there, and I never had so much blood pushed through a certain part of my body in my life. Like, my shoulders turned that awkward blue color from too much blood in one area. So, I mean, and the next day, it's like they were so fatigued and tired that I couldn't do arms because my front delts were too sore to hold the bar to do biceps. So it was, you know, you got to work into it, but it's definitely different. You know, personally, I like this for my shoulders the most, you know, given the fact that I have a slight injury, and then given the fact that I have a slight injury, and I use it the most for that, but it's not only for shoulders. You know, you can do chest, you can do back, and pretty much create your own workouts. Like for this, I'm just doing some front delt raises here and then in the presses. And it's just, you can come up with any idea that you want to, and everybody's different with it. But whenever you do, for example, back, probably the one thing I only use it for one back exercise. I do all my pull-ups with it because I have just never been able to do a proper pull-up. And if you talk to Honey about it, he just hates the fact that I don't do pull-ups right. I don't pull with my elbows, but because I pull with my hands and my forearms and my biceps. Now, with this, with being able to take out your hands, being able to take out your forearms and take out your biceps, you hang from straps that are strapped onto your biceps and your forearms, and it's pure lat whenever you do a pull. There's no more hands, there's no more biceps. It strictly isolates your back. You hang from straps, and that's it. I mean, doing that right away, I mean, that's the first exercise I do, and I do probably anywhere from 4 to 6 sets for pull-ups. And in the beginning, I struggled getting 6 to 8. You know, now I do anywhere from 10 to 15. But to get there has just been, an accomplishment in itself. But what that also did was help me train to pull with my elbows rather than my hands. Because me personally, it's been my biggest problem with my back is not being able to pull correctly. So with this, it's actually taught me how to just pull with my elbows rather than pull with my hands, and use straps all the time. So, I think my back has grown, has got some size, has got some width to it, and a little bit more thickness. I mean, I know I have a lot to go, but it's definitely changed my look. Next, I'm using it for chest. I don't do any of my presses. I don't do any of my flies or flat dumbbell flies with it, but you can. I just prefer not too much to like my heavy presses. But for cable crossovers, I use these for cable crossovers every time. It's almost like I never will use handles again, because whenever you go to use handles, or you do your fly with your cable crossovers and you got the handles, they get in your way. It's almost you stop right at your hands. You can't ever cross your hands over. You're always pausing right there. And with this, whenever you do it, you can actually pull your hands together and actually get a good squeeze and go even further and hit the middle of your chest like you're attempting to do every time. You can actually create a little bit of a different pull, put them to the sides. And it's not just, everybody's different. You can create different exercises just by looking at it, what's going on. I mean, right now, doing the rear delts here in the video, you can see that it's kind of like an upper rope pull. But, whenever you're doing your ropes to hit your front delt, your rear delts, you're limited on range. Here, I'm able to pull my hands completely back and squeeze the top of my back and my rear delts. I mean, it's almost, imagine if there was a rope in my hand, and that's the range of motion I would have. So it's, there's endless opportunities. And I mean, on the Isolator website, there's tons of different videos. You can see all the different exercises. Dana's in a lot of the stuff, and I mean, she's fun to look at, and you can see everything she does because she's leaning you around. So, I mean, you can actually get the idea of what she's working. I mean, Dave Ballmer, the creator, he is probably one of the most energetic people you'll meet. You can go on the website. He has his contact information on there. If you ever have any questions for me, more about what I'm doing with this, go on my Q&A and fire away. But, I mean, give it a chance. Get interested. This is something that actually works, and I'm really excited about, so I'm trying to get back to you guys. Thanks.